And then I started a media startup, and I have sort of been involved with the startup ecosystem of a few states. Started basically with the governments of Haryana and Punjab, and then I was involved with the government of Rajasthan when the whole Startup India policy was coming in around 2016. So with the government of Rajasthan, we went to every single of 217 colleges, degree colleges, not the technical colleges, in Rajasthan, where my goal, basically, which was given to me by the government of Rajasthan, was to get at least 100 startups registered. And those startups are basically in the colleges which, I mean, I'm pretty sure a lot of us know the kind of government colleges in villages and in rural areas. We are not talking about technical colleges, we are not talking about engineering colleges. We're talking about colleges which do not even have buildings, which do not have proper professors, which do not even have enrollments. So, so these are the kind of colleges we are talking about. So I spent like almost 1.5 years going into every single village in every single of these colleges, and we were able to register almost 320 startups. So that was kind of and that basically gave me an idea about the kind of potential the student community of India has. And there I was talking to people, or talking to students who were like the least privileged ones, students who were either staying in their villages, or students who were sort of involved in other things, and going to college was the last option for them. They were obviously not as privileged as the kind of people that I'm talking today to. So, and that's when, since then, I have been very much involved with the enabling the startup ecosystem. I started a community called Jaipur Startups, where we brought in at least 13,000 people in less than 6 months of time. We did a lot of events. We actually, so till that time, cities like Jaipur, Chandigarh, no one knew that these cities could be startup hubs. And today, Jaipur is one of the largest, or actually one of the largest tier 2 or tier 3 cities in terms of startup ecosystem. When you talk about tier 2 cities, I think Chandigarh, Indore, uh, are the only other cities which you would talk about, which are not the metro cities and which actually have a proper startup ecosystem. And I kind of have been involved in that from day one. I kind of have been involved in sort of enabling that. Apart from that, I'm very active in schools and colleges. Like, I love interacting with students. I love sort of looking at the kind of potential that the student community has, that the kind of startups that students as well as young graduates have done. So that's when we started this YouTube channel called Backstage with Millennials, where we kind of figured out that entrepreneurship in India is not really celebrated. Uh, a lot of us, I mean, obviously, like you, people are in IIT Delhi, so that's, you have a different mindset. But talking about different other colleges, a lot of people do not even feel comfortable working in a startup, let alone doing a startup, because the kind of risk it has, because of the kind of uh, the way it is looked down in the society. So that's when we started with this YouTube channel, which was around a couple of years ago in the summer of 2018. And we went live for the first time in 2019, 1st of January. And we have interviewed more than 150 entrepreneurs. We have like almost 300 videos. And whatever that I'm going to be talking here, whatever the kind of answers that I'll be giving to any questions which is uh, put to me, will basically be based on the kind of experience that I've gained talking to all of these people, talking, like listening and observing to hundreds and thousands of entrepreneurs that I have been in contact with, or I have had the privilege to talk to. And also, like, another thing which I really like, kind of, and I would sort of, want every single of you to keep that into consideration, is because all of us are almost in the same age range. Right? Because if you are talking about the first or second year student, you're somewhere around 18, 19, right? And I'm just 25. So we can kind of vibe onto the same level, and that's why I really want all of you to be very comfortable when you are asking your questions. Is if there is anyone who uh, sort of is there something that you do not want to ask here in front of everyone, you can always reach out to me on offline after this event. So that was a little bit of my introduction. uh, Satyam, do you directly want me to start with am I
Uh,
too young to start it, or
Sir,
you?
let me ask some questions that we have framed for this session,
Okay.
giving some background to the question. So, sir, since you have been quoted as the India's youngest CEO by Men's XP magazine, so
Correct.
how do you what do you want to say that why should one start early, and what's there for a young CEO in the ecosystem?
Well, a young CEO, I think the best thing about that is people do not start taking you seriously, and you have a lot to experiment, you have a lot to explore, and even if you fail, you can always just get back on your feet, and you can again start again. So, the mentor that I've had in my life, the person who has helped me the most in my life, he has been there with me since the time I was 11, since the time I was sort of working on my first ever startup. And even today, like he kind of considers he's running a company uh, which is which hasn't actually raised an investment, but he has invested in more than 30 companies. He has invested in at least, I think, 5 to 6 unicorns. So he is a big name in India's startup ecosystem. But today, even today, if I sort of reach out to him, he still kind of considers me that even if the kind of questions that I'm asking, any kind of thing. So that is one thing. People are not taking you seriously. You are still in college, so your parents and your relatives are not kind of chasing you every single day that what are you doing with your life. And college is one thing that you actually meet a lot of people, and you meet those amazing people uh, who do not have family responsibilities. So every single day you technically come up with a new idea, right? So I think this is the best time to put them into perspective, so that by the time you get out of your college, even if you do not have a startup, even if you do not have a running startup, you have that experience which is going to be with you forever, which is going to sort of enable you to take those kind of risky or those kind of adventurous decisions in your life. So that's been my philosophy, and I think that has worked pretty well for me, and that's why I sort of mentioned that I'm really kind of active in the student community, and that's one thing which I keep on telling to every single students. So yeah, I hope that answered your question, Satya.
Yeah, sir. Thank you. So, sir, next question is, what is, so since you have interviewed a lot of entrepreneurs, as you have said, more than 150 entrepreneurs. So, what is that once, what are the similarities in the personalities you found in all entrepreneurs you have met so far?
Okay, so one thing I think you mentioned that in your presentation, you mentioned about Nokia and Kodak. Uh, you mentioned that I think one of the very latest example, which would be relevant. So one quality that everyone has is how fast you can react to opportunities which are posed to you, or which actually come to you. Nokia, Kodak, or even IBM. So I don't know how many of you know Zoom, which is the largest kind of meeting software as of today, was started by a few people who were working in IBM. They went to their higher management that this is something that we want to begin with, we want to start with. Can we start this under IBM? And IBM management was like, okay, this does not really have potential. So those people actually, yes, Reason, you have something.
Yes, I didn't mean to interrupt your answer. I had
That's okay.
another question. Continue.
Okay, okay. So yeah, so basically, Zoom actually came out of IBM, and now Zoom is valued more than IBM. I think somewhere around $150 billion, and IBM is somewhere in 130 or $140 billion range. So one thing is that one thing is like how fast you can react to opportunities, and that's why that is the kind of quality that students have the most, and that's one reason why you should really start early. Another thing is uh, you should never be opposed to criticism, right? You should like being an entrepreneur, being in that kind of field, it's one thing that you should really take whatever criticism, good or bad, you should really take that positively, because a lot of times people who keep on giving you these kind of feedback, they might not even mean good to you. A lot of people might mean bad to you, but they have a reason, if they're sort of criticizing you. So yeah, being open to criticism and being very fast to sort of take decisions. Another thing which I sort of want to correlate with the first thing that I mentioned, being fast to take decisions, is a lot of us actually think of being perfect and then starting something. Like perfect, there is no perfection, no one is perfect, and you have to make that very clear in your head. The only person in the startup industry or anywhere in life, the only person who wins is who starts early. So even if you are not the first one to even if you are not the perfect one to start, be the first one to start, right? And if I want to just give your examples, Nokia, Kodak, they certainly had like amazing technologies. They, like, Nokia was making some of the amazing smartphones with their uh, uh, Lumia series, I think. Yeah, that was a Windows Phone series. They were making some of the amazing cameras in mobile phones, but they could not. They just were too opposed, or they were just did not want to take a chance of getting their own Android phones, and they just like we know where Nokia is today and where Samsung or any other company is today, where Nokia had more than I think 70% of market share in the early 2000s. So do not chase perfection, take a decision and then make it perfect or try to make it perfect. That's the thing. Like if you just keep chasing perfection, you will just keep waiting for that perfect moment to begin with. So I think this is something that I've learned from all of these entrepreneurs, a lot of these companies. We were talking about Udan, which is like obviously from uh, started by the alumni of IIT Delhi, and they are the fastest unicorn in India till now. So I think these are the things which, yeah, fail fast, start fast, and fail better. That's I think that's how I would want to conclude it as.
So that was a lovely observation. Uh, and let's move to next question. So
Srijan has something I think.
yeah, of course, Srijan.
So my question was, as you did mention, we are privileged to have a good formal education right now. That's very
Correct.
true. I agree. And you see all of these dignitaries such as Mark Zuckerberg, Elon Musk, all of them dropouts, right? So especially there is definitely some skill set that a good formal education fails to teach you, right? And as you are being constantly involved in the industry, can you mention some key skills that a formal education does not teach you, and more importantly, some ways, if possible, like if you could tell us a structure to learn them.
Okay, so one thing which I think a lot of people sort of fail to understand is the kind of these dropouts we're talking about. They are dropouts from Stanford or Harvard, right? They are not dropouts from some normal colleges. And another thing, like what I really love about college, what I really love about the communities in the college, is the kind of vast experience that you get. Right, the number of people who are attending this session right now, just look at their backgrounds, just look at their thought process, right? Just look at the kind of backgrounds or the kind of skill set they are getting, and you get all of that in that one classroom when you're sitting with like 60 or 100 or whatever your class strength is, right? So that is one thing that college life really gives us. So formal education is not only about books, it's not only about the concepts, it's not only about those loops of Java or any other language that you're reading or studying. Formal education is actually about that experience which enables you, which tells you that okay, the world, like a lot of us, when I say a lot of us, I basically include every single of you who is there in this session today, would come from small cities, right? Cities, and a lot of us would never have been out of that city till the time you complete your 12th standard, or at least till the time you complete your 10th standard. So coming from that, and then when you get into a classroom, you're talking about an experience of every single corner of India. You're talking about experiences of like thousands of people who were responsible for making every single of you individuals. So I think that is one thing that we kind of ignore, that we kind of do not give enough importance to, and we kind of do not even realize that every single discussion that you're having with your, let's say, your seniors, your juniors, your classmates, your faculty members. So I think that is one thing which really enables you for the challenges in life, because yeah, and apart from that, you spoke about the skill set that you really need. So one of the skill set that you really need to actually have a startup is, I think, managing people, right? That is the biggest skill set. Obviously, like the biggest skill set is whatever you're working on, whatever the startup that you are, but that is your personal idea, right? That is one thing that no one can be better than you. But apart from that, looking at those external factors, I think the college experience does prepare you for those external factors while you prepare yourself for the internal factors, right? You work on your idea, you work on your startup, and the experience in the college basically helps you how you can execute or how you can scale that idea. I hope that was
Yes, so
okay.
that really does answer my question, and also some good insight in the first one. Thanks.
Thank you.
yes, Srijan, that was a nice question. Let's move to next question. We'll have all the other questions in the end in the Q&A round, right? So, sir, you know that people don't go to entrepreneurship most of the time because they feel that if they fail, they might have lost some time. So
Correct.
they don't try to hustle, right, while they are in college. So what do you want to say, or why do you think that hustling is the most sought after skills in today's world? Why corporates even want hustlers rather than just people who are doing a specific job that they have been assigned?
Okay, so I think one of the most important one of the most important things to consider is that the kind of competition which has increased in the corporate world, right, or just in the world outside. If you compare the generation of today, if you compare 2021 or an IIT Delhi graduate in 2021 to an IIT Delhi graduate in, let's say, 2010, and then you compare that 2010 IIT Delhi graduate to a IIT Delhi graduate in 1990, right? The kind of competition that the world has, the kind of respect, or I won't say that, IIT Delhi graduates are not looked at with respect today, but the competition which has really increased. And in that competition, you cannot just make your way in this world with proper learning or with proper study. You cannot just, basically the textbook concepts. Those textbook concepts are not making you successful in this world. And again, being successful for a lot of people might mean different thing. For some people it might just mean, okay, I just need a job, I just need something to just pay my bill. For some people it could be that, okay, I need to grow every single year. I sort of, need a better lifestyle. I sort of need a better skills, better growth. For some people it might just be, that, okay, I need to be in the top 1% of this country's individuals. So success might mean different for different people. But if you're actually looking at that increasing competition, those textbook concepts are not going to take you anywhere. You really need something different, something better, something like the street smart kind of, that kind of smartness. And that only comes when you hustle. And by hustling, again, I don't really want to go into the textbook meaning. It's like ways to make things. Let's say, you are into a team of 10 people after your college, after your degree. All of them are from IIT Delhi. You are just working on something. How do you become better than them? Right? Because all of them will have the same textbook concept. All of them are working on the same technology. All of them are working on the same project. All of them are working in the same company, almost on the same package. How do you shine among them? That's something that you sort of, need to work on. And just like I said, college life is the time when you actually have a lot of time, when you have a lot of resources, when people are not expecting a lot of things. So you have that opportunity, which again, you have got one opportunity by getting into IIT Delhi. Maybe, just make it count the most. Try to make it worthwhile, that when you actually go out of it, you are someone who is just not another graduate. And that's why I actually keep saying that college life is the best way to learn those things which are not into your textbook concepts. And hustling is like, yeah, could be one of those things. I think I'm done. Second.
Yes, sir. Yeah, thank you, sir. And so, see, basically, I was a fan of your channel. I saw a lot of videos. I was really educated by your channel. So, um, so I have seen a series in your channel that where you discussed the top 10 startups of every sector in every video, right? So
Correct.
that was a really nice, yeah. So you have done a lot of research in the sector analysis of every startup. You have met with entrepreneurs across different sectors. So
Right.
what would you say that what are the opportunities ahead in the coming decade in the Indian startup ecosystem? Can you do some sector-wise analysis for our students, because they are going to lead the way of innovation in the coming sector, and they are confused in what area is the hottest topic and where should, for those who don't have an idea, they can really think in that domain.
Okay. So sector wise, again, one thing that I kind of keep telling a lot of people is it really depends on the kind of passion and the kind of skills that you have, right? Because let's say I tell you to do an automobile startup and you say, okay, I don't even know what what is there in that, and I'm kind of interested in healthcare. I'm kind of interested in ed tech. So, but again, kind of talking about my own experience, I've been a fan of edtech. I've been a fan of how the edtech industry has picked up in the last few years. And even though we have like a few unicorns, even though we have all of these companies who have grown like 10x or 15x in since the time lockdown was started. Lockdown was announced for the first time in March. So even after that, I think there is a lot of opportunity. There is a lot of scope and potential in edtech. And why I say that is because I've sort of worked on ground zero with schools and colleges, those government colleges. And I'm pretty sure like every single of us have spoken, every single of us have heard about these news or have read those news where they say that this village has just one school, they have 300 students but they only have two teachers, or they don't even have a teacher, or they have one teacher and he is busy on the election duty for the last 2 months. He's busy in the population counting, which is actually happening right now as we speak. So a lot of these opportunities, a lot of these issues, I think edtech is one thing which can really enable. Let's say a government has really invested in building in a building in a village. How about just having a smart screen? How about just sort of enabling 100 schools in one particular area where you can get one teacher who is sitting in Delhi, Mumbai, or Bangalore, and that person is teaching like hundreds of thousands of kids in these rural villages, right? So that you don't even need a teacher, you just need that one screen. You might even need like one person to manage that screen. That person might not have to be let's say very highly educated to sort of teach these people, but that one person, the kind like, and this lockdown, this COVID has certainly shown us the kind of potential in that. This COVID has again, given us more and more lessons about personal hygiene. It has given us more and more lessons about the personal entertainment. So how you can maybe keep people entertained, how you can keep people healthy. So basically, we have started thinking much more about ourselves and the immediate family, where I think a lot of us were kind of disconnected from that. So if you can think of anything around that, it could be something in food, it could be something in let's say you have these instant food which is nutritious, right? Because these packed food is not really considered to be very healthy. So if you are interested in food, maybe you can just make something which is nutritious. You might just heat it and it is ready to eat for someone in just 5 minutes, and it sort of basically caters to all the nutritious requirements. You have something in healthcare. Let's say you have a kit. You have just a small kit which can tell you a few results, which can give you your blood sugar count. Uh, I'm sorry. I think. I'm sorry. Yeah, there was a hiccup. So yeah, kind of those devices in healthcare. You can talk about let's say entertaining someone while they are while they are working from home, because right now we're talking about the IT industry. At least 50% or 60% of the IT industry permanently working from home. We are talking about so a lot of these things, and but now I say like a lot of people have thought about or have had in their mind, like they have had millions of people in their mind. They have built these solutions for millions of people, but now we have to think micro. And after this COVID, I think this is the best time to sort of provide personalized solution. You can scale that later. I'm not saying that you only have to target like 10 or 100 people. You can always scale that later, but I think the personalized care and personalized experience are the kind of sectors which are really going to boost in the coming days or coming months.
Thank you, sir. Thank you so much for your knowledge. And now I would like to open the house for the questions, and we'll have questions until 12:45 because sir is scheduled for some other work after 12:45. So we have only him till 12:45. So let's start the Q&A. I'll announce. Uh, so Sanskar, you can unmute and ask your question.
Yes, sir. Good afternoon, sir.
Hi, Sanskar.
So actually, I have a question that I don't think that makes sense, but I want to ask that
That's okay.
you talked about team management. That
Correct.
I stuck in that situation that everyone in the team has the same power, and we are given a problem, and we have to give the solution for that. That every single head in a team has a different idea, and they want to apply that solution to that problem, and no one is going to no one is going to listen the other one's solution and apply that. So how to get out of that situation, how to manage that they have to manage that situation which come as front of mind.
Well, that's when your skills as communicator, or that's when your skills as a manipulator basically come into place, Sanskar. That's where your experience as an individual of 25 years or 20 years basically comes into play. If you can convince someone, if you can really get people believing on your idea, so that's how it works out. So I think there is no textbook answer to that. It completely depends on the kind of situation. Completely depends on the kind of decision which is being made. But that's like college teaches you that, right? College has, like, let's say you are 5 people in a project. How do you zero down onto one idea? How do you zero down onto an idea of one person? The same thing is going to be in the corporate world. Obviously, like it'll just be a little bit more bigger. It might just be a little bit more complex, but yeah, you will learn that in college, pretty sure.
So as I can
Thank you.
see the yeah, Sanskar. So as I can see that all the there are a lot of hands raised. So I'll ask everyone to ask just one question and then lower down their hand. If they want to ask another question, then again raise their hand to follow the queue, right? So and after asking the question, please lower down your hand. So Abhishek, Meena, you can go next.
Yes, sir. So my very first question is that what is the best right now we can do till we have an idea, and how to
Idea
get
about what?
more idea about a startup.
Okay.
And so second question, just a follow up, that are there still software based startups left with the which the students can really start without getting into complex things, or should we focus upon our branch and go for a uh, product based start?
You're talking about the service-based or product-based startups, is it? If I understand it correctly.
Yes, sir. That without going into some complex things, can we start a software-based startup where we have solutions for everything right now? Almost
Like, what do you
everything
mean
right now.
software-based startup? Do you mean providing services? Because kind of a product startup
Yes.
is also a software-based startup.
Uh, no, sir. I'm actually talking about Amazon, Flipkart, and all edtech startups which are delivering education software
Mm-hmm.
startup. And on
Okay.
product, I'm saying we need an innovative product which solves a problem. And should we
Correct.
focus upon that?
So I think, Abhishek, talking about the first question of yours, talking about the idea and talking about how you can get involved, I think that's where your EDC cell comes into play. That's where your alumni come into play. That's where the network that IIT Delhi, the brand name that IIT Delhi gives you, that comes into play. Maybe just start with an internship. Maybe just start with being involved with someone. Maybe just start with if you're really good in programming, if you're really good in software development, maybe start with these websites who are actually these quiz-based websites, who you can even earn some money if you win those competitions. They have a lot of these Code Chef, and I think there was one company uh, which was owned by Directy and which was acquired by an academy. I think it was Code Chef or it was something else, Code Academy. So there are a lot of these websites. If you only want to sort of get better on your programming knowledge, so that's a good place to start with. And another thing, like it's if it is only about your experience, just reach out to these startups. Just get an internship. In 1 year, technically, you can do like 2 to 4 internships, depending on the kind of. So that is just to get an idea of how startups work, how the startup culture is. If you do not have an idea of your own, right? So in 1 year, you can end up getting like 4 different internships or 2 different internships or 6 months each, and that will give you an idea of what is the culture inside a startup like. What are the kind of ideas or what pace these startups work on. And talking about the second idea, so talking about the second question of yours, I think there is never a dearth of opportunities in whatever you want to start with. And just like I said, even before Zoom, there was Skype. Even before Zoom, there were like so many other different platforms. Cisco had one. Uh, Zoom just did things in a better way, right? Just before Flipkart, Flipkart was technically an e-commerce website. The way Udaan was started, they only looked at these large customers, they only looked at these large shipments, and today they are a unicorn. So it only depends, like there is some idea which has already been done. If you can add a twist, if you can add some sort of your personalized feel to that, you will always be successful. I mean, I won't say you will always be successful, but it can always be something worth being successful, right? It all also depends on the kind of in the way you execute a start, but yeah, you can always sort of be right there.
So
I
Rahul,
hope
please
that.
go
Okay, sir.
next.
Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
So my question is a pretty general one. My question was simply that in college, the first time we are exposed to a sort of a work-life balance where we have to balance our interests and hobbies with our grades, with our maybe our entrepreneurial spirit or our
Correct.
productivity. So, sir, should we how do we start to maybe prioritize stuff or maybe just remove unnecessary stuff from our life? Could you just give a hint on your personal experience with that?
So actually, it's all about priorities, Rahul. At times, people think that okay, education, getting grades, getting a CGPA of what scale do you have, 4 or 8?
10 actually, sir.
Oh, you have 10. Okay. So for some people, might just be getting a CGPA of more than 9.5 or 9 is the thing. For some people, it might not even work that okay, I can be fine with getting a CGPA of 6, but I need to work in startups. I really need to make some good connections. So these are the priorities that no one else can set for you. These are the things that you actually have to decide what is more important for you. Is getting a degree with 10 CGPA more important? Is getting a degree with, let's say, 7 CGPA and some sort of startup experience and having like 4 internships every year is important for you? Or you think you might just ignore now that you are in IIT Delhi, now that you have access to uh, that sort of network, now that you have access to these kind of clubs. So is that thing only important for you and you don't even care about your studies? So I think that is a very personal choice to make. And yeah, I mean, I don't have a lot of experience in the college life, in student life, but I think everyone is different. So I cannot really tell you something and then you try to follow the same, because I don't know, the kind of uh, priorities you are coming from. So yeah, I think that's something for you to decide.
Thanks, sir.
So, Nitin Kumar, please.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, I want to ask that today's world, is really the computer science the best branch for startups or not?
What do you mean computer science is the best? Do you mean
Uh,
software? Do you mean
it's
applications?
a software. Yes, sir. Is computer science really having the most number of opportunities for startups, or is it not true?
Uh, so Nathan, it basically depends on the way you look at it, right? We are actually in a world of automation. We are in a world of AI and machine learning. We are in a world of computers. So that way, I think to enable anything and everything, computer science is one thing, but you cannot do a healthcare startup only with your computer science knowledge, right? You cannot do a agri-tech startup just on your computer science knowledge. Both of these things are basically enabler to each other. So that's where computer science is important. Computer science, I'm not saying like, but only computer science is important. That's one thing I think you shouldn't really be thinking right now. So everything is important. Everything does have its own positives and negatives, and I think that's the way to look at it.
I just
Okay,
want
sir.
to add
Thanks.
something, Ethan. So that is where you have to find co-founders who complement your skills, right?
Correct.
And it's not necessary that you need to know everything about CS. Next question from Anish Majumdar.
Okay, sir.
And Nathan, please lower your hand.
Hello, sir. My main question is that let's say that a technology exists currently, okay, and another technology also exists, but the combination of these two technology does not exist, and I want to do a startup based on a combination of these two. But I have the idea that these two can be combined and can a very good startup can be formed. But I have no idea about these two fields. Let's say one of them is virtual reality and another one is
Mhm.
something. But now, how do I proceed? As because these are almost these are at a very high end in the field of technology.
Correct. Uh, so how do you proceed as in what? Is there a way you can tell me a little bit about both of those technologies that we're talking about? Or
Let's say virtual reality exists. You have an idea
Mhm.
about it, and another technology which we saw recently, like alter ego. So alter ego does what it can understand what we are thinking. But I mean, like what we are thinking in our mind, it can read that and it can do the corresponding actions. And virtual
Mhm.
reality, you know that. So like if we can somehow merge this thing into virtual reality, let's say now in
Correct.
virtual reality we have to move our hand, then we will be able to get that action into virtual reality. But with alter ego, we may get that just by thinking. So, and we don't even have to move our hand. So, like,
Right.
I that if these two combining these two were possible, then it would be something a combination which would be very good. But now, how do I implement this if I want to start something on this?
Okay, so one thing, Anish, you need to sort of keep in mind is whenever you are starting, whenever you are looking at something like this, whenever so another thing about having a startup is not only having an idea and the power to execute. Another thing is actually to be sure or actually have an idea of whether or not there is a market for that, whether or not that's as feasible to make make the technology. So what we are looking at right now is something that I don't really see being used right now or being in sort of demand right now. So is there a market? Figure that out. If there is a market, why has someone not already done it? What are the complications? It might be money, it might be, let's say, technology. So I think first you have to be very clear on those. If there is a market, if there is market, okay, why has someone else not done it? Because there are a lot of these companies, and I'm pretty sure a lot of these things people are already working on things. People might have, because making a solution like this, right? We actually did a video on the space tech startups in India, and a lot of these space startups, they have been in stealth mode. They have been working on a product for like 15 years, and even today, no one knows about it because they have not been able to launch a single product or a single service. Right, so a lot of these things, so you might not even have an idea. So I think you need to maybe get a little bit better on your research, and then if you think that something which has not been done, and if something can really be done, and you have the required skill set and you have the required resources to do it, then certainly you need to go ahead and maybe that's how great ideas and that's how great startups are made.
Sir, the main problem is here. It is not. I mean, like, how do I connect with these people who are already in these fields? That is the main problem. Like, yes, I want to do research. Let's say I want to do research, like, but how will
Uh-huh.
I do? Just by
So
googling and
Anish,
yes,
correct.
sir.
That's where I think IIT Delhi Tech really comes into play. You have an amazing alumni network. You have an amazing set of seniors or super seniors. Maybe just reach out to them, and yeah, I mean, I'm sure your EDC cell can really put you into place. But uh, like I have couple of my juniors and my seniors who have studied in IIT Delhi. So if there is something I think I can just connect you with. But yeah, reaching out to those people, I think just use your networking skills, just use your IIT Delhi tag, and just use the alumni network that you already have, and I think you will be good to go.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Thanks a lot.
So Anish, talking about EDC, of course, you can reach out to me, and there's another cell, student incubation cell. So you can also reach out to them. Their complete task is to assist you with all your these needs. So next question from Anurag Yadav.
Yes, sir. Do we really need to go through all the past experiences and the past history of any project or any topic that we are working upon? Like, sir, sometimes if we are working on a one project, then we get bored or it get disgusting and we want to change it to another. So,
Mm-hmm.
sir, for that another project, do we really have to go through all the past experiences and failures of that project?
Like what? I'll need a little bit more detail on this, Anurag.
So, like, I have a project of business marketing, and
Mm-hmm.
one of the uh, one of the subtopics of business marketing I have, and I am working on it for 2 years, and now
Mm-hmm.
I get bored from them, and I want to change it to another. So, sir, if
Mm-hmm.
I to change to another, and that topic is basically new to me. So, sir,
Right.
can I go to the whole history behind that topic and its failure, its outcoming, and its everything that is consistent?
So I think it's not, I don't know what you really consider whole history of one thing, but I think having some background information does really give you an edge when you are starting. You are not just starting with let's say nothing, right? You are starting with, let's say, different people who have worked onto this. Uh, you have, yeah, how different people failed, how different people sort of succeeded. These are the kind of things which basically sort of having your research well, because let's say you're starting on something, you don't even have an idea of this might need this much of resources, this might need this much of money, or there is no market for that, right? To know about all of these things, I think research is important. Now, how much of research is needed? Again, it really depends on individual products. It really depends on the individual sectors. But yes, some sort of research is, I think, important in whatever you start with.
And sir, one another question. So I have seen, whatever I have seen, I think that every field has a big startup already started. Like
Your voice is
people say,
breaking a little, Anurag. If you can maybe just try to. Please repeat it. What you just said.
hello, sir, am I audible?
Yeah, you are audible, but it was just breaking a little. So yeah.
Yes, sir. I was saying that I have seen many of the field that people have started taking a big startup already, and I don't have idea about what to start and what to work upon. So in
Okay.
every there are a big milestone already created, sir.
So you're talking about your classmates? You're talking about people around you?
No, sir, the whole India, sir. Not sir.
Okay. So, Anurag, I think one thing that you really need to understand is every single person is different, and that is like you cannot compare. And that's what I was just telling you. I think answering someone's question earlier that your priorities have to be defined by you, right? If let's say you sort of want to compete with two people, one of them is the pro in business, one of them is a already having a startup, and the other one is a 10 CGPA holder. You cannot just compete with both of them, right? Because both of them, their priorities are different. They are very clear on their priorities. So you need to sort of make your own plans. Do not be disheartened by what is happening in the outer world, right? You need to make your own opportunities. And yeah, I mean, I think it's your own personal thing to take. If you just sort of get disheartened by what the world has already done, I'm pretty sure getting into IIT Delhi wasn't easy either, right? So if you were just thinking, yeah, IIT Delhi, so every single year they have these many people writing that IIT JEE and IIT Delhi is one of the top colleges, I will never get into it. You made it to this college, right? So that was just one of those things. So maybe just keep having your hustle, keep that hustle going, and I think you will find your way in your life too.
So
Thank you, sir.
Priyanshu, please ask your question, and Anurag, please lower down your hand.
Okay, hello, sir. So my question is a bit general one. Actually, all seniors say that the first year is the time when you find your passion and work upon it.
Correct.
But actually, I'm still not sure whether I should do a 9 to 5 job or some sort of administrative job of some startup thing. So basically, my question is that why should I choose entrepreneurship over other career options? Or how can I assure myself that entrepreneurship is actually my passion?
Well, so I think there is no one who can tell you what your passions are, Priyanshu. That is something that's the inner calling that we actually say. This is something that sort of what I can really tell you is while you are still in your engineering degree, is maybe just go for a few internships. Maybe just talk to a few people. Just talk to people around you. Talk to your seniors who are either in corporate jobs or who are doing their own startups. I think you are right now not certain about either of these things. So maybe the best thing would be to experience both of these things, right? To maybe just do a couple of internships in a corporate company. Maybe do a couple of internships with a couple of startups, and then I think you'll be in a better position to start. And another thing, please do not get uh, disheartened, or please do not get demotivated if your seniors have told that you have to be like, if you are in your second year, if you are in if you have completed your first year, you have to be very clear on your passion. Like, this is your life. Live it on your terms and not on your seniors terms, or not into the advices on someone else who has given you. So I think just try to figure out people. There are some people who are slow, there are some people who are fast. So yeah, you cannot really compare with anyone else. So I think just experience both of these fields and you'll have a better idea.
Okay, sir, that will help. Thank you, sir.
Chaitanya Mittal, please go ahead. Priyanshu, lower down your
Hi,
hand.
sir. Am I audible?
Yes.
Yeah.
Sir, I am asking is that let's say I assert that I want to start up in future. So, but as of now, I don't have any idea. So, does that make sense from my side? Do such ideas pop out randomly in our mind, or do we have to sit and think that, hey, let's start up and we'll think about an idea now?
So again, you cannot really work on something like this that you are working, you are looking at uh, I think an idea is something that you cannot really store in your cupboard and then come to, or basically get to that idea after 5 years, after 3 years, or after 4 years, once you're done with your degree. So that's one thing that I really sort of advise everyone is. And these ideas basically, so what is a startup? Startup is just like you are solving an issue, right? You're talking about an issue, you're talking about a problem today, you're working at its solution. There is no certainty that that problem will actually exist even 4 years down the line, and that will sort of end up making so disheartened that, okay, this is something that this was my $1 million idea and this is something which is done. So I think that's one thing. Just do not try to store your idea, and just do not be on with that kind of mindset. I hope that answers.
Yeah.
Yes.
So Nishant, please go ahead with your question.
Hello, sir. I want to ask what all should be kept in mind while choosing co-founders?
uh, I'm sorry. Okay, so while co-founders, I think one thing that you really need to keep in mind is that both of you, or three of you or four of you, how many ever co-founders that you have, they really complement the requirements in a company, right? There are let's say you are someone who is really good with software, or you're really good with technical terms of it, and then you need someone who can come up with some sort of management experience. There is someone who can sort of come with some sort of HR experience, right? So whenever you are starting, just have a list of skill sets, just have a thing of the requirements. And another thing which is really important is the kind of vision that you have, the kind of vision you have for that company, the kind of vision that you have for that sector, the kind of vision that you have for that team. Do you really kind of vibe in? Because co-founder is, I think, the most important person after you, if you are sort of considering yourself as a founder and another person as co-founder. So try to sort of have them on the same level of vibe as you. And I think, yeah, that's the thing that you really need, because a lot of times co-founders just come with that kind of employee mentality that, okay, I just need this much of salary. At times there might be hardships. At times there might be things which might not really go into go according to plans. So does that co-founder really have the kind of ability to be in and perform in those kind of pressure situations? So I think being aligned with the vision, being aligned with the kind of responsibilities, and being really talented in the responsibilities that you're looking at are the three things I would look at.
Okay, sure. Thank you, sir.
So next question, Manthan, please ask. And this is the last question. Let me remind, because sir is already pre-scheduled, and we have him only till 45.
No, Satam, we can actually make it till 1. That's
Okay,
fine.
okay. Thank you, sir. I was.
No worries.
Yeah, sure. Thank you
Okay.
so much, sir, for your
No,
generous
I'm
time.
really enjoying this discussion, and I'm pretty sure, like, if anyone can sort of get benefited by anything that I can
Yeah,
share.
so we can of course have more
And anyone,
questions.
like,
So
even
Manthan,
if after this, I think if we cannot, if there is something that you want to ask and if you want to connect, I'm pretty active on social media. I'm pretty active on my email and Instagram. So I think you can always reach out to me on that. And I would love to have some good discussions over there. So maybe I can do one thing. I
so
can just,
Manthan, yeah,
Yes.
sure, sir. So Manthan, please ask your question.
Good morning, sir. So basically, my question is that if you have an idea of a startup regarding an existing technology for existing product, like a phone or like a milk startup, like kind of that, how to overcome, how to start with that, how to cope up, how to compete with the monopoly existing technology. Like if you're trying to start a milk startup, how to compete with Amul. If you are trying to start a phone startup, means smartphone startup, how to compete with Samsung, which has influenced the people in a great scale in now area. Means वो मेरा प्रोडक्ट क्यों
correct.
लेगा, मतलब वो सैमसंग का क्यों नहीं लेगा इससे अच्छा, like kind of
So
that वो मेरा
Manthan,
yeah.
one thing I'm really I sort of I've heard it a lot, that you get disheartened by what Samsung has built in 50 years, right? What Amul has built in 35 years. You get disheartened by their success even before starting, right?
Yeah.
Like, I think, I don't know how many of you have really seen that movie Guru, but there is a very good dialogue in that when Abhishek Bachchan says to this the journalist R Madhavan, that Guru Bhai se ladne ke liye Guru Bhai banna padega, right?
Yeah.
So to beat Samsung or to actually sort of give any sort of competition to Samsung, you at least first have to be on that level. Don't think about what Samsung has done. Don't think about what Amul has done. I can tell you, like this milk basket, there are at least a lot of these startups. There are a lot of dairies actually. There are a lot of these new age uh, digital dairies which are everywhere, like which are all around Delhi, which are all around Jaipur, which are all around places like this. So these are the, like, again, both the things that you really asked, a smartphone and a milk brand are completely different things. The kind of customers you're targeting are completely different. How about you just, so if I give you the example of the first one, the milk one, how about you just take a society and you just tell them that, okay, I'm going to provide you the best quality milk at this price, and which is fresh, right? Because Amul, like I've been involved in a startup like this, so I think I can really give you some good insights. uh, the the milk that we drink, which is from Amul, is at least on an average 6 to 7 days old. Okay, it is processed. It is like it goes through different kind of processes, and then it reaches you. It's at least 6 to 7 days old. So if that can be your USP, if you can sell that idea, I think why wouldn't people buy from you if you can say that within like couple of hours of that milk being milked, I'm going to deliver it to you. Let's say now that we are talking about privacy, now that I'm on your second idea now we are talking about privacy, and now we're talking about an operating system. If you think you can really make a smartphone which is better than Samsung, why will people not buy? Because all of this uh, uh, privacy debate that we have, if you can really build something which is using your own software, which is using any of these open source, we have Linux Mobile, we have a couple more operating systems for mobile which are open source. You can sort of uh, uh, customize them according to your needs. So if you can really build something, first build something and then look for the market. If you can really build something which can beat Samsung, right? If you are just building something in your college lab and if you think, okay, इससे मुझे Samsung को beat करना है, तो नहीं हो पाएगा, right?
Yeah, got it.
So
People are choosing OnePlus over Samsung and Apple in the flagship phones.
I didn't get that, Anurag. Your voice is still breaking. I'm sorry.
So basically, we have to try to find out the fault or the means holes in that company and work out in that.
No. What I'm saying is, don't look at their market because they have captured that market in 50 years. You have to start small, right? Just maybe look at, let's say, just look at a company which is a company really cares about their privacy, and they have 100 people who you can sell your smartphones to. Let's say you can only talk to Infosys that, okay, you have 50,000 employees, I can give you those 50,000. You do not have resources to build 5 million smartphones in a day. Why are you looking at that?
Yes,
right? Look at that thing when you actually have that kind of capacity and that kind of resources.
Yes.
Farman, please go ahead with your question.
Good morning, sir. So my question is how do you have a balance between the creative side of you and the manager side of you? Like creative side follows more on innovations and manager side follow more on quarterly result and profits and cash flow. So how do you have a balance?
That's why you have co-founders, Farman. That's why you have a team. That's why you have, I mean, obviously in the beginning you are a very small team. In the beginning you might just be 1 or 2 people working on, but I think that's why whenever the company grows big, you just have to focus on one thing. There is never a balance. One thing will always be dominating the other one. One thing will always be lesser than the other one, right? It's just that whenever you need something, you might make that a dominant one, and whenever you are you might, let's say in your case it is creativity part of the management part. So at times you might need creativity, at times you might need management. So it's like that's where it is said that being a manager or being an entrepreneur is actually a tough job, because you have to always juggle between the kind of responsibilities that you need to take.
Okay, so I think I got my answer.
Thank you.
Pratik, go ahead.
Good morning, sir. So my question is that if I have a startup idea in which I am required to learn a few skill sets, is it a good idea to hire someone? Suppose that I have a startup idea for something in which I'm providing services on an app like food for Zomato and stuff like that.
Right.
So do I need to learn the skills of app development by myself or hire someone and spend money over there? So my basic question is time versus money. Because if I'm learning the skill sets, I need time. If I'm spending, I'm spending money. So what should be done?
So that's where the concept of worth basically comes in. Is your time worth that much of money? If it is not, if you think that okay, you are, let's say you are spending 1 lakh rupees on getting that thing developed, right? So for that 1 lakh, how much time do you think you will need? Will you need a couple of weeks? Will you need a couple of months? And then if you say, okay, I'll need a couple of months to actually learn those skills, and I'll need a couple of months to sort of build that app, do you think 4 months of your time or 2 months of your time is worth 1 lakh rupees, right? And that depends on what stage of your startup you are at. So take, just do that calculation and you will come to your conclusion.
Okay, thank you, sir.
Aval, please ask your question and lower down your hands, those who asked.
So, hello, sir. I would like to ask two questions. So, my first question is, how do I practically go about making contacts with influential people and, expanding my network? And my second question would be, what all things do I need to keep in mind to make my product economically viable for consumers as well as myself?
Okay. So talking about the first thing, networking, when you spoke about like how do you go about it? So there is one thing, there is one concept that you sort of, a lot of us don't realize. We just think that, okay, if I have contact number of, 100 of my seniors from IIT Delhi and maybe like thousands of people who have studied in different IITs and who are working, how many of those do you really count as your contacts? How many of those people can really be helpful to you when you really need help, right? So that is one thing that you really need to figure out, that these are the skills that I might need help with. Let's say you're doing a startup, you might need someone's guidance on technical side of it. You might need someone's guidance on the business side of it. You might need someone's guidance on, let's say, uh, 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 funding part of it. You have to fundraise, you have to do this. So be very clear, okay, these are the things that I will need help in, and why will someone help you? Why will someone be uh, actually want to be in your contact list, or why would someone want to be a connection of yours? So another thing, like, what are you giving in return to them? Are you working on something which is really promising, right? Are you working on something? Have you had some sort of those academic credentials that people think, okay, this is a good guy to be in contact with? So be in sync with all of these things, and whenever you're sending that email or whenever you're reaching out to them, just sort of come ahead and sort of give them an idea of this is what you really need from them, and this is how you can be helpful to them, and make quality connections. Just have 10 people in your contact list, just have 5 people, but those 5 people should be the ones where you can really count on, right? And who can basically be available for you whenever you want.
Okay, sir.
Right? And then try to sort of use their connections. Let's say you really have someone who you can even call at like midnight. Those people would again have. So that's how the networking thing works, right? You are connected to someone who is connected to someone who might invest in your startup. And talking about the second thing, the economically viable. So I think it's a very broad question. I think we'll need to talk about the sector specific or a product specific thing for me to actually be able to give you an answer on that. So
No, I just wanted an overview about what all things do I need to keep in mind.
So overview is another like, it also depends on the kind of stage that you are at in your startup. Let's say you are just beginning and the revenue is really important for you, and you just are bootstrapping. So in that way, I think you have to make sure that every single person is paying the worth. But again, if you're funded and if you don't really care, that you don't have to be cash flow positive, that you don't have to be unit economics profitable. So I think that's another approach to take it. So overall, there is no overall in the startup industry. There is no overall concept of all of these things.
Thank you, sir.
So Srijan Agarwal, please go ahead with your question.
Yes, thank you. So I've been drafting business models myself, and I see all of these institutions, be it a social organization like the UN with its sustainability goals, or even a totally financially motivated institute like BlackRock. All of them are promoting sustainability, right? And of course, it is encouraged to include that in your model, but it does pose a certain amount of challenge, right? While considering profitability too. So, and you have spoken to a massive number of founders. So
Mhm.
what's your opinion on it? Like, is sustainability inclusion in your business model a necessity? Of course, it's encouraged, but is it really a necessity?
So Srijan, that again, depends on the kind of people you're targeting, right? Sustainability is kind of a fashion statement as of today, right? It's not the most important thing. It's because sustainability sort of requires a lot of resources, but again, if you sort of include those resources, you end up making that price that product priced a lot costlier, right? So I think right now it's still, it depends on the kind of people that you're targeting. It is certainly advisable, it is certainly encouraged, but being a business, and just like how why India has pollution, why India and China have pollution and US doesn't, because the standard of life, because the amount of money that people can spend on making their life better in the US is much more than the amount of money that people in India and China can spend. So I think the first thing is actually about uh, making people equipped, and sustainability might be something that is encouraged, but that is not the most important thing. The most, there are so many other important things right now. So, and if you talk about sustainability, you kind of lose, I think, 99% of your market share, or 99% of your target market. So if you think that if you can price anything that you're working on, if you can price anything that you're building, for those 1% people, go ahead with that. If you think you cannot do that, if you think you cannot get into losses, then maybe just don't really look at the sustainability part right now, and just keep building what you're building.
So it is really more of a facade, right? That big
Right now, it is a
institutions that
fashion statement. Yeah, correctly.
Okay, sure. Thanks.
Ayush Kumar, please go ahead.
Sir, my question was that how the biggest problem for a startup is how to reach their customers. For example, my existing college network will be of help, but it will be of limited help. How do a brand new startup enter the market in the real meaning of it? How do they reach customers that exist outside their acquaintance network?
So Ayush, I'll tell you one thing: a college network, or the college incubation program, or whatever the EDC that you talk about in this particular this segment, is basically not to help you achieve your 100% goals, right? You cannot just think of a startup idea, go to your EDC cell, and they'll say you, "Okay, you're a $1 million startup in 1 year. You don't have to do anything." They're only to give you initial push. They're only to sort of that limited resources that you're talking about. These colleges, these incubation cells, these EDCs are actually only for that initial push. Now, based on that initial push, how you can, how far you can go, that is one thing that is for you to decide, right? So I think that's how I will try to put it, because we are almost short on time, and I think I'll maybe take one or two more questions. But yeah, that's, I think, the baseline of it, Ayush.
Okay, sir.
Maybe two more questions, Satyam, and then we can conclude.
Rohit. Yeah, please. Hello. Rohit, are you there?
It doesn't seem like.
Okay, so next question. Okay, Rohit is here now.
Hello?
But I guess not audible. So
Am I
Rohit, you can
audible?
type your question. Comment. You can type your question. Your voice quality is very low. By the time Tanya, please, you can ask your question. Rohit, you type your question in the comment box.
Hello, sir. My name is Tanya. I just wanted to ask that what should be the basic ideology when it comes to maintain a balance between risk and reward, where we are providing a service or a product? What should we follow?
And again, I think it depends on the kind of company culture that you're trying to set. It also depends on the kind of team or the kind of market that you have. I have met people, a lot of people who are who are not risk takers, or who are sort of working on. I think it really depends on the kind of, again, the sector that you're targeting. Are you really taking on some big guns? Are you really sort of getting into, let's say, I just gave you an example of space tech startups. Like, we were doing research about the biggest space tech startups, and a lot of these startups have raised like hundreds of millions of dollars, and they do not have a single product till now. right? So for them, like all of those things, so it really depends again on the kind of understanding that you have with your investors, if you do have them. It also depends on the kind of understanding that you have with your team, with your co-founders. So just like there is no one answer to that. Every single startup, every single idea, every single way of execution, and every single person is different. So I think this is much more of, I think, a personal decision. And overall, I think there, like, all I can say is there needs to be a balance. Like, you can either keep it 50-50, 60-40, but again, if you're really looking at, something that you are going all in and that can provide you 10x of the rewards, and if you think, okay, I don't mind giving my few months or 100% of the capital or 100% of resources, even if it does not give me anything, pretty much just like how stock market or any risk business or anything works.
Yeah, thank you, sir.
Rohit, I haven't received a question in the comment box. If you can, if your network quality is good, you can ask it.
Hello, sir. Am I audible?
Yes, you're audible, Rohit. Too much.
Good afternoon, sir. Sir, my question, like I am very fascinated for startups since my class 6-7, and I want to work in agriculture startup, like providing technological solutions and providing a better marketplace for farmers. But now I see there are already many startups in this area, this segment, like AgroWave, and obviously Reliance JioMart is targeting this marketplace only. So this was quite a major portion of my idea. So shall I go with it? Is it worth it, or shall I drop this plan like this?
Okay. So
Obviously,
Rohit,
there are challenges, and I am ready to face the challenges. But will it be worth it if I go for it and approach in a different manner than they are approaching?
Okay, so Rohit, I think this was something I was answering to someone else's question when he was saying that if I have an idea, can I just pursue it after 3-4 years? So I think agritech is one thing that is like all of these startups. There are at least, we did a video on these top 10 agritech startups, and that's when I actually realized that on what scale these startups are sort of operating right now. So the thing is, even today, like even after we have the hundreds of agri-tech startups who have raised funds, even after that, I think India's agri-tech market is not even tapped like 10 to 15%. There is a lot of, because 60 to 70 crore people in India are still directly or indirectly related to, dependent on agriculture, and that's why we have all of these farmers protests. So JioMart is not really a agri-tech startup. One thing sort of, it is just an enabler, it's just an e-commerce website which only buys something from farmers and sells it, right? Though in an agri-tech startup, what you can really do is there are a lot of things you can basically make sure what is the kind of quality of the seed, what is the kind of quality of the soil, what are the kind of crops that these people are growing, what are the crops which might not have a market in India, which you can sell outside India, outside that particular state. So agri-tech is a very, very complex part of it, and if you can really crack that, don't be disheartened by these big startups. As I told you, like not even 15% of India's agri-tech market is right now tapped by these startups. So I think that way you do have a lot of potential, but it just depends on what you can, like what better you can do from these people, or you can also maybe get started in an area which these people are or these startups have not really tapped. So I think that's, yeah, if you're ready to take challenges, what's stopping you? Just go ahead and take challenges, and I'm pretty sure like even if you don't come out with a successful startup, you will come out with an amazing experience into that. I hope that answers your question, Rohit.
Sir, and one more question.
Rohit, Rohit, there are four more people with just 4 questions they want to talk to, sir. If you can ask this question offline to sir, it would be really helpful.
Okay, I'll do one thing,
and
Rohit. I'll
ask
just share my email and my Instagram handle with Satyam. He can share it with everyone.
Yeah.
And if there is anyone who wants to reach out to me after this, it'll be great. So let's do those 4 really quick.
Yeah, sir. So only 4 questions are there. Can you tell how many questions can you take according to your time? Like they were waiting too long.
That's okay. Let's just take those 4 and I'll be done.
Yeah. Rohit, thanks for cooperating. You can of course ask the follow-up questions in the email. So Prakhar, please ask your question quick.
So, sir, am I audible?
Hi, you are audible, Prakhar.
Yes. So my question is like, let's say we have a new product idea sort of thing, and we start creating that product, and let's say it comes under the market of Unilever, but that's a new product idea. So like Unilever doesn't have a product on it, and we start capturing the market like pretty prominent but like quite small, and then Unilever catches the eye on a product and this says okay, they start creating the same product with 100 times more investment, machinery, and like they got that product same quality, better quality, but for cheaper rate. Then what would we do? Like our market
Right.
would be gone.
So I think that's where you. There are two stories I really want to tell you, Prakhar. One is of I don't know. There was a candy which just came like 3-4 years ago. It was in green and black wrapper. If anyone remembers, if anyone can just sort of tell me,
Pulse.
it was sorry.
Pulse, yeah.
Called Pulse.
Correct. So that basically became a 100 crore market in less than a year. We did have candies before that too, right?
Yes,
And
yes, sir.
right, so no other. So there is like when you are actually talking about something like this, people really look at like how many, let's say how many uh, what do I shampoos, like how many shampoos do you have in market? There are hundreds of them, right? In
Yes, sir.
1970 or I think 1980, there is this company called CHIK, right? They just figured out that there is no company. I mean, to actually buy a shampoo, you need to have, let's say, 50 rupees, or let's say you have to have like a good amount of money because they were only available in these bottles, right? So this company came up with a new concept that they actually started selling sachets of shampoos. And within like 5 years, that company became bigger than Sunsilk and bigger than everything else. So the idea does not matter. The way you do it, the kind of target customers, and even today, I think Chick is one of the biggest shampoo brands in the world. Oh, sorry, in India at least. I don't know about the world. But so yeah, they just didn't do anything else. They were just making the same shampoo, but they were just targeting a different kind of market. They were only targeting people who just had to spend like 25 paise in that time, or maybe a few, not even 25 paise. And even today you can, like, every single company is following them, but even they are a profitable startup. So these are the experiences which basically tell you that no matter how big of a company it is, you always have a chance.
Okay, sir.
Three more questions.
Nirbhay, please.
Yes, sir. So my main question was that how do we, if we have an idea, a tech-based idea, and but we do not have the technical knowledge to back it up or to
Correct.
execute it, how do we proceed? Like maybe I can maybe I can search for co-founders, but I don't think like it's a big idea. How do we execute a big idea with technical knowledge? With
For a big idea, you do need a big team. Yeah. So Nirbhay, that's one thing. Like a lot of times, what we think is, yeah, my idea. I don't want to share it with anyone else. But I still want to make a big $100 million company. You do not make big companies on your own, right? You do need people who understand your vision. You do need people who sort of complement who complement your skills, who sort of become your support hand. So I think a lot of these things you really need to consider. And just if you're beginning, I think if you do not need a co-founder, you can just outsource that product to someone. You can just ask a company to build it for you. And yeah, I think that like some of the other thing you have to make some of the other adjustments. And if you're looking at, I don't know if that is in your mind, if you think that, okay, that will sort of dilute my equity, that will sort of dilute my share in my company. So just always in the startup world, keep one thing in mind, that owning 100% of a grape is still lesser than owning like 10% of a watermelon. So that is one ideology, that is one idea, or one thing that you always need to keep in mind. Never be in love with your equity, never be in love of your stake. Always look at building bigger things. Yeah.
Okay. Thank you, sir.
So next question by Pranav.
Audible?
Yep.
Yeah.
Sir, my basic question was this: what are some of the basic steps for doing a startup, and especially a service providing startup?
Well, you just need to have a problem that you're finding solutions of. You have to have the market, you have to have the customers, and maybe a pricing point. So there is just like I said, like every single startup is different. Like there have been people who have just started when they were least expecting something. They just sort of figured out an issue and they just wanted to solve it. They saw there was a big market of that and they just did it. So being startup, like that's where startup is different than a proper business, is because there is no textbook definition. There is no textbook guideline of doing a startup, right? Every single startup, every single idea is different, and whatever pleases you, whatever works the best for you, just go ahead with it.
No, sir, if you can provide some of the basic first steps we have to take towards it.
Well, what is your startup about? Let me just give you a little bit of personalized information. What are you thinking?
Sir, basically, I was thinking of a service providing startup related to some of the mechanics.
And what sort of service it is?
It's sort of service that provides technical assistance when someone car breaks down or two-wheeler.
Okay, so
stuff
I think the most basic thing is to actually get those mechanics on board, just to talk to them that, okay, this is my idea. Will you be, just find out that if there is actually a market for that, if there is, the problem actually exists on ground, or are you just making that up in your head, right? So I think the first thing is that, then maybe getting those people on your basically on board with your idea, and then just finding these customers and just getting started. And maybe just doing a pilot of whatever you're thinking.
So our last question by Nishant Mittal, please. And please make it quick. The meeting is scheduled till 1:15. Otherwise, the meeting will stop abruptly. And I'll
सर
then
मेरा
call upon. Yeah.
मेरा बस ये क्वेश्चन था कि सपोज अभी किसी के पास कोई स्टार्टअप का आइडिया येट नहीं है, तो व्हाट आर द काइंड ऑफ स्किल्स जिन पर अभी इंसान को वर्क करना चाहिए, लाइक उस अगर स्टार्टअप का आइडिया उसको है कि वो 2-3 साल बाद करेगा, व्हाट काइंड ऑफ स्किल्स ही शुड बी वर्किंग नाउ इन द फर्स्ट
I
और
think
सेकंड ईयर?
वही मैंने बोला था आपको किसी को beginning में कि if you don't have a startup idea and if you are interested in doing a startup, then I think the best thing would be just to get started with get involved, read about stuff, maybe do internships, get in touch with people, listen to people, what they're doing, how they started. Just sort of, get more and more knowledge, absorb more and more knowledge about whatever is happening in the startup industry. And I think that would be a good beginning for you.
Yeah. So thank you, everyone. And I will call upon Raj Guloni, sir, the overall coordinator of EDC IIT Delhi, to give a thanking message to sir.
Hello, am I audible? Yeah. Hello. Yeah.
Yes, you are audible.
Yes, you are, Raj.
So it's that we are running out of time. So thank you, Prithvi sir, for taking our time and interacting with our freshers. Hope all the freshers who joined the session will got to know about the startup culture and how they will basically how they start up if they have their ideas, and we are all here to help them out, and we love to have these type of interactive sessions in futures also with you and all these things. And we are really thankful that you take your time to interact with our freshers and with our community. So thank you very much, sir, for your time.
Thank you, everyone. I hope it was really nice for me to interact with all of you, and I hope it was of value to everyone who attended, who took out their time. And just like I have shared my email and my Instagram handle with Satyam, so if there's anyone who wants to reach out, who wants to sort of discuss anything about startups and entrepreneurship, or needs any sort of tips, it'll be great to sort of interact after this. So yep, thank you very much, everyone. Have a good day and have a good time at IIT Delhi ahead.
Okay, everyone.
Thank you, sir.
Upload the recording in the YouTube channel. You can also go and subscribe to Backstage with Millionaire, also the EDC IIT Delhi YouTube channel. And now I'm going to end the meeting. Thank you, sir.
Thank you, everyone.